Good morning, everybody.
Thank you for calling. Please hold for the next available representative.
The sound in the background about waiting for the next representative is a call to the FBI. I'm just calling to follow up on previous complaints and renew the complaints about the corruption and fraud which has been going on both here in the U.S. and in the Jamaica Supreme Court against judgment creditors who have been won. I am one. My partners and myself
Thank you for calling.
have
Please
been
hold for the next
defrauded
available
or
representative.
an attempted move to defraud us of damages in excess of billions of US dollars, which were guaranteed under the payment of those damages were guaranteed under an undertaking given to the Jamaica Supreme Court in exchange for an injunction which stopped at least 10 major projects, super projects, which people call, some people call mega projects in Jamaica, and we're looking at developments in the U.S. as well, Florida predominantly, Nicaragua, Haiti, and a few other locations, plus some other proprietary products. So when we did get the judgment that we were entitled to damages, the claimant who had filed a complaint and issued the undertaking, which is binding, in May 29, 2015, the Supreme Court ruled and threw out their claim. They claimed they didn't understand the judgment, so it was extended. The judge asked for time at Justice Beswick to clarify, which she clarified on December 23rd, 2015, declaring that we were entitled to damages, that the claim was fully dismissed, and that was the end of it. So we had set the matter to be heard for damages. Instead of us trying to calculate damages or bringing our own expert witnesses, we asked the court to appoint two expert witnesses. Those expert witnesses calculated damages, preliminary damages in excess of about 20 billion US dollars for all the projects and losses. And we used that formula, and at the end of calculating using that formula, and remember the damages are ongoing because they haven't been paid yet, we total that we were owed over 2 trillion US dollars by this US bank. It's the US 10th largest bank, and from that time until now, we've had nothing but fraudulent attempts by the bank and its local representatives, John Graham, joined by Myers Fletcher and Gordon and Alicia Robinson, to not only defraud us of the damages, which is again in the trillions of dollars, but real estate that the court ruled that they had no interest in, and nobody owed them anything. So I decided, again, this is June 15th, 2021, to file either a new complaint or follow up as to why the FBI has not taken an interest in prosecuting these people for the largest fraud, bank fraud or fraud by a bank in the history of the US, as well as Jamaica, if not the world. We're talking about the bank now being underwater to us creditors, to the tune of about $1.8 trillion or 1.2 trillion, because we gave them an option to pay us 873 billion, and instead of making efforts to settle that debt or make payment, they have chosen to engage in all kind of fraudulent activities, including what I now believe is a threat against me. In the past, they've tried to get 2 judges out of the Florida Bankruptcy Court, the Southern District of Florida, Justice Hyman, and to issue orders telling me I should cease and desist in attempting to collect the damages or attending court in Jamaica to settle the damages. And if I didn't, on return to the US, I would be held by US Marshals on my arrival and held indefinitely until I decided I wasn't going to pursue collecting my money or the money for my partners. Now, the significance of this is that the damages not only occurred to myself and my partners, but to the Jamaican economy to the tune of about $4 trillion in projects, about $500,000 in permanent jobs and long-term revenue infrastructure in terms of entertainment products for the tourism product, plus some proprietary IT products that we believe would revolutionize the real estate market globally. In fact, we had started a company to do that a couple of years ago, and I won't call that name because it was in hefty litigation with a few government entities when they made alleged claims against us, which was fraudulent. And those claims were filed by us from as far back as 2007, 2008. And to date, we haven't been able to get the Supreme Court to set those matters to be heard or settled. And it's a similar thing we're going through with its damages. In January of 2019, 29th of January 2019, we showed up in the Supreme Court of Jamaica for an order on our damages. And what transpired was Justice B. Morrison of the Supreme Court walked in and told us that we had withdrawn our claim to damages, and he wasn't going to listen to anything. He didn't adjourn the matter to a later date or anything. And even though we're here telling him we didn't do it, he refused to listen to us. And in fact, listened to a lady from Myers, Fletcher and Gordon, who claimed she was representing my company, or the company to which I was the director at the time, and a company that had in fact assigned its interest to what is called in the Supreme Court and the courts of Jamaica, or elsewhere, successors in interest of their interest, and that was in front of the court. So even though we told the judge that the so-called notice of withdrawal that was not filed by us the evening before the damages, there were still other damaged parties here that were represented, and we still wanted to be heard on our order for damages. So he refused, and literally told me I was being disrespectful for letting him know that we didn't withdraw damages and I was there representing myself regardless of what he was saying. So from January 29, 2019, we've been waiting for a reset. And regardless of how we've tried that reset, we haven't been able to get it, even with multiple letters to the Chief Justice himself, who seemed to be complicit in this issue. We've sent tapes to him to a notification that we think he should resign because he's certainly not doing his job, and it would seem he's either complicit in the matter or protecting the judges, at least two judges, Justice B. Morrison and Kirk Anderson, and the Chief Justice himself, because we've provided evidence where, for example, Chief Justice B. Morrison, on the behest of John Graham, appointed administrators for an estate that didn't exist, didn't have property in Jamaica, had no relationship with Jamaica, and was closing probate from 2006. We were talking about 2019, 2015, 2013, and this judge appointed an administrator for an estate that didn't exist, and therefore they took that administrative appointment and went back to the US to claim they were appointed trustees for an Alexander Burnham Trust coming out of New York, and that they were the trustees for that trust. Now, we've asked for discovery and for them to produce evidence of them being trustees, and to date that has not happened, because based on the last will and testament that they're talking about, the deceased gave instructions that only a bank that had its corporate offices in New York State, New York City, could become a trustee for the estate, which was formed out of probate and the settlement of probate. So it wasn't even a part of the estate. That said, the court ruled that these people had no standing, the appeals court, and to file a claim, and instead of the lower court judges complying and adhering to the orders of the appeals court, they ignored it. And in fact, on a couple of occasions, Justice Sykes himself said to me when we made applications for them to give an order for the fraud being conducted to be investigated by the JCF, he refused and then told me if I didn't like it, take it to the people across the street, which I interpreted as the appeals court. So I don't know if there's some internal struggle or war going on between the appeals court and the Supreme Court, but I thought that was totally disingenuous of any judge to even suggest them people cross the street. So I'm really waiting on here for a representative from the FBI to tape what response they're going to be giving me as to why they haven't investigated a fraud, banking fraud, which is going to cost the investors of one of the 10th largest banks to totally lose their investment, because as the biggest creditors to them right now, they actually owe us more money than they're worth. So which means we're going to seek to wind them up. And the last effort they made in Jamaica, the JCF, members of the JCF from the Area 1 called me to say they went to Jamaica and filed papers that they were the owners of our property, or my property that legally and under the Constitution can't even be taken from me. But they went and filed papers that I was trespassing on my own property and that the police should do something about it. Of course, I went to the police, provided them with all the documents from the courts, all the paperwork, including an order from a Justice G. Brown, who had heard the ridiculous insinuations or allegations from these people that a U.S. court had given them orders to take my property or property of my partners. And the order from Justice G. Brown was that no such order was enforceable in Jamaica, and the justice in fact appointed me the representative of the so-called company that they supposedly own, which of course is a big lie, it's fraud. So again, even with that said, and those orders from the courts and Justice Lee Brown, there were judges who subsequently came into court, ignored us, didn't listen to anything we had to say, and allowed Miles Fletcher and Gordon to represent a company which the court had already given us orders that only I was appointed as the legal representative, which is logical because under Rule 22.4, one, I believe, as a director or the director of the company, I have a legal standing or right to represent that company. So even with the rules of the court, the law of the land, and an order from the court, these judges came in and completely ignored it. So I want to find out from the FBI and local police agencies, JCF, why they haven't locked these guys up, or why they're not prosecuting them, because as I said before in previous videos, I see low-level scammers being picked up on the tarmac of Montego Bay on a regular basis and flown back to the US for prosecution under the Scammers Act. And certainly these people have, committed that and are in fact trying to scam us and defraud us out of our money, which is theft by deception. And it's been reported to the JCF, the Commissioner of Police, Minister of Justice, the not the civil service, but the Judicial Service Commission, and a host of other officials and law enforcement officers. And for the heck of it, we can't get anywhere with it. So we want to find out why the biggest fraud case, which is provable, hasn't been dealt with by local law enforcement or anything. In fact, the law enforcement, the sheriff in West Palm Beach told us it was an event for the Jamaica police force to handle. But the reality is that a large chunk of the fraud has occurred here in the U.S. as well, from across 3 states. One, Florida, New York, and even Virginia, where the undertaking for the payment of damage, which is binding. We not only have one, we have 2 undertakings which are binding, and we want our money. And in fact, I am pressing this issue because the last time I was in court, another judge came in and had heard from the other side, who claimed they were representing my company. And after I told the judge that I was appointed, he ignored me and withdrew the claim against my company, which they claim they represent. So, withdrawing the claim, and then having the nerve to say, after stopping my business and my partner's business for almost 17 years, that, we didn't suffer any damages, which is their name game plan to try to scam us out of our damages. But we did already get rulings from the court and expert witnesses whose statements have been certified and admitted in the court's record that trillions of damages were done to us. We supplied a memorandum of damages listing the enormity of developments and projects we were doing and revenue loss, opportunity cost, and still we're waiting for a date to be set. So we're holding, as the record is saying, for the FBI to come online, and then I'll get back. Thank you. One more thing, lest I forget. The last time I appeared in court, I was served by papers from these people. What I found attached to the pleadings or their application was a detailed investigative report on me from a Jamaica security firm. I think it was Guardsman, maybe. Let me see. Detailed report of all my locations, my name, my address, locations, family, birth dates, you name it. And the only reason this was being done, in my estimation, is another live threat in open view of telling me they know where to find me when they want to find me. So this can nothing be but a threat to my life and my security, because there's absolutely no need for this to be done. They have all my contact information necessary for whatever actions they've taken. And so this is a veiled threat, which was often used by, nefarious people in the past to tell people, we know where to find you and your family or your relatives. So without saying this is to tell you, you better back up. This is what it actually is. So an investigation report regarding me. And, of course, they tried to go to the police and make all kind of fraudulent claims, but I had already, and it's from Guardsman, investigation report regarding me, of course. So, we'll see. Report issued March 1, 2021. And again, I want the fraudsters, John Graham, Alicia Robinson, Miles Fetcher and Garden, Capital One, a Stephen Raprier, who is now claiming he owns my company, out of New York
Please hold for the next available
to explain to me and the police how come he's laying claim to my property under a false claim that they filed in the bankruptcy court of New York, that somehow I owe them $600,000, and then attaching to that pleading in the Jamaica courts, which was not at all necessary for any purpose other than to threaten me again, because their first threat about locking me up indefinitely didn't take, because I told the judge he couldn't stop me from coming to court in Jamaica, because not only am I a Jamaican citizen, but I was carrying a Jamaican passport. So, and I was a defendant in that matter, so they didn't have jurisdiction over it in the first place, but yet I'm being threatened. And again, these are things on the public records, both in the US and in the Jamaica courts. So, again, it's questionable. What's the police doing? What's the Commissioner of Police doing? Why is the Governor General so quiet? The Integrity Commission. All these people, the reports have been filed too. And the Prime Minister's office. So, why the quiet? Because either way, the Jamaican people need to know that this handful of people have literally robbed them of billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars in income, international earnings that would help stabilize the country and will be needed after COVID, if not before. Alright, so I'm waiting for the representative, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to be waiting. So I'll be back. Yes, good morning. Hello? Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Repeat that now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, this is Anthony Tharp. I had filed a complaint several years ago about being defrauded, my partners and I have not heard anything from you yet. You did inform me that I would be contacted. Sure.
Hello. Thank you for calling the FBI. This is not a 911 service or taking emergency calls. For emergencies, please call 911.
Si usted desea escuchar este mensaje en español, por favor oprima el número 1.
In a few moments, you will be connected to an operator. This call will be recorded for quality assurance, investigative, or other purposes. If you do not wish to be recorded, please hang up and submit your tip online at tips.fbi.gov. That is T as in Tango, I as in India, P as in Papa, S as in Sierra, .fbi.gov. During this call, you will be asked to provide identifying information about yourself and or the person about whom you are calling. We use this information to assist in investigating your tip. You do not have to provide your name or other personal information. However, the lack of information may delay or hurt our ability to investigate your tip. Any information you can provide may be used for authorized purposes. To report a tip on an FBI case currently highlighted in the news, press 1. To report a tip about a threat to human life, serious bodily injury, significant violent action, or threats to national security, press 2. To report a suspicious email, hacked email, internet scams, or ID theft, press 3. To report mortgage fraud, press 4. To report telemarketing fraud, gift card fraud, identity theft, or unfair or fraudulent business practices, press 5. If your call is not in... Thank you for contacting us. Please file a report with the Federal Trade Commission at www.ftccomplaintassistant.gov. Once again, that website is www.ftccomplaintassistant.gov. Trade Commission at www.ftccomplaintassistant.gov. Once again, that website is www.ftccomplaintassistant.gov. Thank you.
Well, that's what you get from these agencies. Long bureaucratic dragging out of the process and then nothing. I have to go try again. Not this morning, but there goes the call. And again, I'm going to send this to the Chief Justice to let him know that I'm going to file another written complaint as well as follow up on the verbal to find out what the FBI is doing, because his lack of taking action against the parties named in defrauding me and my partners as well as the Jamaican people and the economy of Jamaica to the tune of billions of dollars, his negligence in sitting there on this issue, and it's his responsibility to fix it. And I've gone to the Minister of Justice, his office. I've sent documentation, the Commissioner of Police, and honestly, I filed a complaint against the Commissioner of Police for being complicit, because he hasn't acted on anything we've sent, and we're declaring that fraud is being done. His own officers are giving us warning that we must be careful. In one instance, 2 uniformed officers pulled up beside me and told me that they were aware of situations like this where the party was murdered, and so I must be careful. Now, if ranking officers, low-ranking officers and others have been giving us warnings, why isn't the Commissioner doing something about this? It must stop, and I let Mr. Sykes know, the Prime Minister know, Miss Marks from the Ambassador's office in New York knows our Washington, because I've contacted her office as well, know that regardless of whether I'm here or not, this is not going to stop, because over 100 and something people, direct partners and people indirectly associated with this, and persons, up to 4,000 persons who would have benefited from, directly from this, these developments, and therefore are owed damages, will want to see their money, regardless of what's happening. So this idea about threatening me with pinning onto a document filed in the courts for no other purpose than to intimidate me into thinking, oh, they know where I am, they can find me, they have all my contact numbers in the US and in Jamaica, which is a veiled threat on my security, is simply to say they know where to find me. But you already knew that. So this is not in any way intimidating me. You haven't done it before. You've tried the courts, hasn't worked. So the only solution for you is for the matter to be set so we can get our final order. That's all we want. We don't want anything else from you. Give us our final order for the damages we've proven, which is what the court order said we were to do, and we've done it. So it's not even that somebody can come in and say, oh, these aren't the numbers. Straight maths, addition and subtraction, opportunity cost, inflation indexes considered, product sales, competitive pricing, and profits, and we've done the maths and the accounting. So there's nobody who can come in and tell us, oh, we weren't damaged, as that. I don't want to use the term, but that judge, when you get hold of this tape or the video, should be embarrassed to the teeth, because I don't know how you could walk into court after somebody's business has been put on hold by an injunction issued by the Supreme Court of Jamaica to say, oh, you didn't have any damages. An injunction doesn't just damage the person who it's made up against. It damages the secondary markets and all the persons who will be associated with that person on the very business. So common sense, the basic common sense, the basic mark of a dim intelligence should tell you, don't come to any intellectually superior person and tell them that nonsense and think it's going to go over. And as I said before, Justice Sykes, you had recused yourself from the matter previously under Justice McCullough. You need to appoint an independent party to or send over everything to the appeals court, to a tribunal over there to deal with it. Because really and truly this matter has been judged and we've been victorious, and all we need is our final order. Under normal circumstances, we didn't even have to come back to the court if Justice Beswick's order had said final. And we just need for the justices to put that order together. And if you don't want to see my face, that's fine. I'm going to do the order and send it. The final judgment embracing or endorsing or accepting the proven damages that we've submitted. So again, the only way to say those aren't the right numbers is to appoint other expert witnesses, an accounting forensic firm, to come in and challenge those numbers. And frankly, I don't even think the court should even get involved there. We gave Capital One the opportunity to do that, and instead of doing that, all they engaged in was fraud through John Graham, Miles Fletcher and Gordon, and this lady Della Penna who tried to sell our property. And then Miles Fletcher and Gordon had the nerve to write to Area 1 police to say, they served us with notices that we're trespassing, which was a lie, of course, because we have a trespassing sign, and frankly, if I catch you on my property, they'll be held to pay. So don't come talk about you're trespassing on my property. I'm trespassing on my property. If I catch any of you over there, I've authorized my people to deal with you accordingly. That is my right, constitutionally guaranteed. My ownership and interest in the property is guaranteed under the Constitution. So if you haven't told your Capital One fraudsters and conspirators, you better let them know I have the right to protect myself and my property. So, and my partners who are there, and the persons I've authorized to be on the property, and my money, which is what you're working to steal, I want my money, and I'm going to collect it. You don't take 17 years of my life and think it's going to just go bye-bye like a butterfly. All right, so to all the Jamaican people, you need to stand up. Now, a number of you would have benefit from this project and from these damages, including all RIC members and Carif's joint venture partners. And you know who you are. And I've sent emails, mass emails. My partners, Bill Wrigley, William Wrigley, had sent out mass emails to a number of you, and you're quite a few have filed the necessary papers with the court, the Supreme Court, so that they're represented. And I would recommend that you not only file it, but find out from your elected official, your Ministry of Justice, why isn't he doing something about this fraud in the Supreme Court? Because again, it's fraud is something that's catching, and they've been doing it so long down there to people. If they're doing it to me so brazenly, then what have they done to other people who don't have the means, the know-how, the stamina, or the aggression to defend their rights and their property? And that's me. So if you think you're going to get away with this again, it's not going to happen. Because sooner or later, the JCF, the Commissioner of Police, must act. I've said before, I'm willing to drop the complaint or your complacency, but I need you to act. Do your job. That's what the newspaper people, they're a waste of time and money, but we're going to get the word out. So again, to all the Jamaican people, and people generally who are looking to invest in Jamaica, think about it. Think about your money. You put your money in Jamaica and you have no protection, because you have a bunch of crooked judges down there and crooked officials who turn their eyes the other way, a blind eye, while you lose your money, and they figure you lose your money, you don't live here anyway, so you run out of the country and too bad for you. That's not how it works in a global economy. As dependent as Jamaica is on the global economy and money coming in, I suggest the government, you, Mr. Prime Minister, give serious thought to allowing or turning a blind eye to what's going on. Because somebody is paying somebody down there to keep this thing and keep our files missing. As our case has been won, we need a final order, and we want a final order which is all right under the courts. So again, I'm going to be polite. I'm going to say, please submit to law and order and get us our time so in front of the judge, or again, Zoom, we don't care, and get us our final order, and we'll be out of there. We are going to complete our projects here because we have them. But the fact is, we're not going to sit down and allow ourselves to be robbed. And I'll remind you that the projects on the ground that are to be completed are worth billions of dollars in infrastructure. The concrete, the brick and mortar of the projects themselves are billions of dollars, plus the long-term revenue. During the construction phase of just one of those projects, we're looking at over 6,000 workers on site. And on the long-term permanent jobs on that site, we're looking at least 30,000 workers. Just one of those sites in Montego Bay. So, you need to think about the country's interests before you start protecting these scammers. And again, these are scammers. They're no different from the guys who pick up the phone and rip off nursing home people or old people in the US. A scammer is a scammer. You tell lie and collect people money deceptively, and then you try to act as if you're all up and up. You're buying your place in society because you're flashing around cash or looking good. But the fact is, you're still a thief. A thief, you're a thief people money, and we're not going to allow it on our side. So again, we're going to get this message out to all the people, and hopefully they'll realize what they need to do and stop sitting down as they're fools, and be led to the slaughter. Our struggle as a people, hauled out of Africa, dumped in Jamaica, and we're making our lives, and we're all over the diaspora. And if we don't stand up, we're going to end up back in the same boat where people think they can just come and tell you that, oh, this is how it should be, in face of everything that's just and unjust, and tell you that you have to accept this. No, we don't. We're going to get our day in court. We have our constitutionally protected right to be in front of the court and to get our orders. And we're demanding it. We're not asking, and we're not begging. And when we get there, we don't expect it. We don't expect to be insulted or treated with any contempt because some judges feel we shouldn't be doing this. But if you feel you shouldn't be doing this, then you need to take action within the court itself to help clean it out. Because if you're a righteous person, a righteous judge, willing and able to grant justice, and you might be perfect, you make mistakes, we know that, all of us do. But if you're going to sit there and shut a blind eye to somebody who deliberately are in the courts using it to rob and destroy people's lives, and you don't do anything about it, then you know better. You know better, you're going to get painted with the same brush. Because you know they're doing it. When I go in front of a judge, and one judge, Justice G. Brown, made a ruling that the crooked or fraudulent orders from a U.S. court is unenforceable in Jamaica. And you go in front of another judge, and that judge is going to ignore that and treat us, who are the victims, who are the property owners, as if we don't have any right in our property when the Constitution says otherwise. It says no arm of government. And that means people who work in that arm of government can't make any laws or rules to deprive us of our property rights. And property rights include damages. Damages represent property. And so when we come and we say we want money, we're not asking you. And we're not asking you to come up with some dumb figure. because we have maths. It's the 21st century going into the 22nd century. We don't need no dummy who never do good in a school to come sit down there and tell you about we not get damaged when other accounting bodies and auditors come in and already say damage was done. So again, don't take us for fools, don't treat us as fools, because again, you have to remember our history. And not everybody going to sit down and take foolishness. I mean, I'm one of them. Alright? If you never understand the English before, understand the patois. Me are one of them. I'm not going to sit down and take this garbage from anybody. Step on my rights, insult me, try thief my money right in front of me, and then accept and think I must accept it. Now you're going to treat me with respect, and you're going to do what the law says you must do, or resign. If you don't want to work according to what the law says, the court and the rules of the court, then resign and go home. Go home. We don't need you. Get a job. Go raise cow. Do something. Find a job somewhere. Make Capital One give you a job for all the dirtiness you down there do. But not come into Jamaica and try to use Jamaica for rob people in the US and all over because you don't make a dumb mistake, which you could have walked away from years ago when we asked you to. So nothing now you're going to screw up our business and being merely vindictive. Merely vindictive. This is just venomous, abuse of the court process. Because you lose a case years ago. From 2012, the appeals court ruled against you. And we asked if you left us alone, let us do our business. And instead of that, you get some corrupt judge or judge who don't have no brains to continue a matter that the appeals court already said should be dismissed. And the fact is, once the appeals court said you don't have no standing or claim, why is the claim still in front of the court up to 2015? And then after that ruling, we don't go back and get the people another injunction and allow them to file another claim in the same matter using employees of the company, as if that changed anything else. We're much smarter than that. I think we're stupid, please. Alright, so again, Jamaica, we're going to get it out. And I'm asking everybody who get this, pass it to somebody else and cry out, because it's affecting you. It's affecting your economy. It's affecting the people who pump their money, hard-working money out of Florida into Jamaica. And, they're hurting. Everybody's hurting. I want their money. The people in Jamaica who should have benefited from this, you're hurting, and you're going to hurt even more if we don't get to do what we have to. If we don't get our money, if we don't get our projects built, and this fraud isn't stopped, then they're going to continue and they're going to hurt other people. So bottom line, it's not just about me. It's not just about my partners. It's about you. And if you don't understand why crime is so high in Jamaica and globally, because of this abuse, which comes out of a racist economic system where they feel they can just come in and take our business and treat we like dog, take our property and kick we around and figure where we're going to accept it. Yeah, so when my people came out of Africa, they dragged us out, they sold us for beads, and we're not going to go back there. So we might invest in Africa, we can divorce ourselves from our homeland. It's ours, and nobody can tell us say we don't have a right to be in Africa or invest in Africa or build Africa. But we also have a right to build anything we want in the West, because we help build the West. And our people, Olmecs, Black Caribs, they came into the Caribbean and North America and find we people all over, thousands of years before Columbus catch here. So nothing so we catch on the planet, and this is not to say other people are being, targeted. No, we work with everybody. My partners include every member of the human race. We have Asians, a lot of them are Jamaican, Asian Americans. We have blacks. We have whites or people of Eurocentric descent, Caucasians. We have every mix-up. We have Spanish people, we have everybody. And we have Jamaicans, we have Caribbean people. So this is not about some racial issue. It is in one sense, because I think if we weren't black, or the leadership wasn't black, then the judges in Florida wouldn't try for robbery. Justice Paul G. Hyman look from me and tell us, say, in go sell with stuff and harms then transaction in the matter, even when we could have bought back our own property when it wasn't necessary. I filed and they made rules to break the law. The judge know that Capital filed a false claim, and it was pointed out to him and the trustee. And they blinded eye to it. It's a federal offense, up to 5 years in prison. And John Graham participated in that when he started work with Capital One. John Graham, Miles Fletcher and Gordon, Alisa Robinson, trustee Bassett or Backett, whatever his name, out of Florida. Judge G. Hyman and the other lady judge will come on. They try to intimidate me, but they're going to lock me up indefinitely until I stop fighting for my own money and my own property. If it wasn't that I had to file papers with the chief judge in Florida, then I still try to intimidate me. And that's what I'm going to try to do at Jamaica. That's what they're there for. So again, have a great day. We're going to continue to fight. And we're not going to stop till we get the money and build our projects. Thank you.